Let's start from removing the fuel tank. I've already removed the grab rail, which is going to be held by 2 bolts, so that's nice and easy. And then you're going to have to pop that rear panel and pull it all out. There we go. Oh, and also there's going to be a plug here that needs to be disconnected, so be careful, don't want to tear it. Up next, you're going to put your fuel tap into closed position or off position, and then removing those 2 bolts will allow you to lift the tank. Also, you're going to have to remove that fuel hose there. You'll see it in a second. Okay, the last step before you remove the fuel tank is disconnecting of that fuel hose there. So once this is off, the fuel tank can be lifted. So this is the VX with fuel tank removed. So removing of the front airbox. So it's basically unscrewing those 2 little screws and then taking the side screws off the airbox, and it will literally come out easily. And then we've got access to the front carburetor. Then here from the top you're gonna see that little clamp which will allow you to pull that hose. Removed, you're gonna be able to access that screw there, which is gonna be holding the carb into the intake. And then with that out, I think the carb will come off. Alright, so let's pull it out. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. The carb comes off. But what you want to do pretty much instantly is you want to put a rag under it, because you don't want to drop anything into the cylinder head through this intake hole. And so here on the side of that carb, you're going to have a 12mm nut, and after unscrewing it, you're going to pull out the choke plunger. So again, rest it on its side. Alright, so next I've removed this little spring here that is attached to those 2 poles, and by doing that you get nice slack here to remove those cables. I pulled out, unscrewed that cable here from this attachment, and that will allow me to hopefully easily remove that cable. With a little bit of a wiggle action, I was able to pull out that cable from the attachment. Right, so to remove that cable, it's probably better not to mess around with the settings of this here, because that's a sync cable with the other carb. So it's going to be better to just remove that screw and to take out the whole linkage off. So if you just push at the bottom, there we go. Okay, we've got the carb loose. Moment of truth. Is it messy or not? Well, it's actually not that bad. I thought this is going to look a lot worse, look. Oh, alright, I'm going to pull out the jets and we'll see what's up. Right, so I pulled out the jets, main jet and pilot jet, which are here. I blew through them with compressed air, so now they're lovely and clean. I've also pulled out the diaphragm to check if it's all kosher, and it seems to be all good. I've also checked the float, there's no cracks, it's all in one piece, all good. And of course the float valve and its tip, and that appears to be in good condition too. So I think what I'm going to do now is, considering how clean the float balls are, I'm going to assemble it, pull the other carb out, clean the jets, inspect everything, and I'm going to assemble it back and try to start it. Right, peeps, now trying to remove the second carb. So this duct needs to be disconnected from the airbox. There's 2 airboxes, one at the front, one at the rear. Obviously you're going to have to loosen up the clamp on the cylinder intake and then loosen up the clamp on the airbox. Disconnect 2 fuel lines on the other side of the motorcycle, and also you're going to have your choke plunger, which I'm going to show you in a second. This carb is going to be sitting there quite tight, but it seems to me I'll be able to remove it. Now the question I've got is, Do I have to remove the rear airbox to pull it out? I've never done this bike, so I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna try to keep the airbox in place, less messing around, and pull it out. Now what I'm gonna do, folks, instead of pulling this carb out completely, I think I'm just gonna remove the float bowl, because I've got pretty decent access to it, and then I'm just gonna pull all the internals out like this, clean this, and put it all back in. I think it's gonna be a lot less hassle. And then I can remove the bowl. And what's really crazy is that the rear carb is a completely different carb. How interesting. It's not really that dirty, but you know, I can tell there is mess there, so I'm gonna clean it up and we'll see how this runs. Alright, so I'm gonna start with the main jet. So let's just hold it there at the bottom because it's gonna fall off. So main jet comes out. Right, so this is an absolute magic and a fluke, because I can tell you that the pilot jet comes out pretty easily actually. So I'm just gonna have to keep my hand there. Yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the bowl on because I don't want to drop this jet anywhere. So I'm just gonna secure it for now. I'm gonna give it a little tap and hopefully it will come out. Right, so I'll give it a couple of taps from the other side with a screwdriver and hopefully the jet came out. There we go. As you can see, it's sticking out. That's our pilot jet. Alright, so jets reinstalled. I blew through them with compressed air. The float moves freely. Everything inside seems clean. I had a little look at the diaphragm chamber and it's okay as well. So I'm going to try to reassemble it now and hopefully it will run. Right, so I've cleaned both carbs. The first one, the top one, properly. The rear one kind of half-ass way. You know, I had the carb still in the frame, but you know, I pulled all the jets out. So let's give it a go. Hopefully it's going to start. Right, I'm going to put the fuel tank back on. And for now, I'm going to put it on just loosely. So now I'm just going to connect this fuel hose here. Alright, let's try to start it up. Okay. Running on choke. A little bit uneven. Okay, it's struggling.
A few moments later.
Folks, I had a little bit of a fiddle with the carbs, just made sure that everything's tight. I sprayed some carb cleaner on the boots just to make sure the bike doesn't run lean. I mean, granted, the fuel is still shit. This is old fuel from, I don't know how old this fuel is, probably from last year, because the bike was stood for quite some time. But it runs a lot better now. Seems to be holding the idle pretty well at about 1100. A little bit of a hesitation from time to time, but you know, old spark plugs, old fuel. I'm going to replace those and hopefully the bike will be running sweet. Yeah, Not that bad.